Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a reading wrap up for the month of February. And in February I did manage to read 5 books. I'm a reader for sure. I wanted to say I'm not a huge reader. I am a huge reader, but I don't read books as quickly as everybody else. I've got too many other hobbies to just focus on reading all the time, but very happy to have finished 5 books in the last month. I'm gonna walk through them with you guys. First of all, I read House of Hollow. I saw this one pop up in one of Emily's reading videos. I'm still a little bit behind. I think she read it probably about 6 months ago or something now, but I liked, well, first of all, the cover is really pretty, but I liked the idea of it. It sounded interesting. This book is about 3 girls that were kidnapped when they were younger, and all of a sudden they appeared again a little bit later, out of nowhere. Nobody knew where they went. Something didn't feel fully right about them, but they were back with their family. Everybody was happy. But then a lot happens. We learned a lot about where these girls went towards the end of this book, who they are, how their relationship works together, because it's like the 3 sisters are so immersed in each other's lives when they come back. Like, they can't even sleep in different rooms from each other, those type of things. It's, I don't know, like I was talking about it with Emily as well. Like, I feel like the end, they pretend like everything is fine, but in my head everything is not fine. So I wasn't fully satisfied by that. I gave it 3 stars. It's very interesting. Like, this is not just pretty. When you read the book you will know what I mean, but there are ants on her face as well, which you don't really spot when you look at this book, like at first from further away. But I kind of liked the world building a little bit, and it kind of keeps you on your toes trying to figure out what's going on. But at the same time, I just wasn't satisfied with the end of this. It did not make any sense. Like, thinking about it from like, okay, if I would have been in that situation, would have been how I would have felt as well. But it was an interesting book nonetheless. It's nice to read books that aren't like the usual books that I read sometimes as well, of course. So that was House of Hollow. Then after that I read Carie Soto is Back from Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read multiple of her books. I still need to read Daisy Jones and the Six, but I have read, trying to remember the names, Malibu Rising. I have read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And what I really like about like all these books is that that's Taylor, that's right? I think, yeah, Evelyn Hugo is by him or her, him as well. What I really like about these books is that all the books are somewhat connected to each other. So the character from this book, like the main character, does show up in Malibu Rising as kind of a side character on their side, and she's not very likable in that book. But in this book, because the whole book is about her, you do understand her story, you do understand where she's coming from, why she is the way she is, and I actually really like this. It was about, well, Carie Soto is back. Carie Soto was a really like famous tennis player in the book. I don't think she really existed. And she like has a world record of amount of opens that she won, and well, she decides to come back for specific reasons. So you follow her through her trying to climb back to the top after being retired for a little while. Of course, like, she's still young in my opinion, but in the tennis world, when you're not like 22 anymore, you don't really count anymore. So yeah, I did like this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was a really fun read. It kept me engaged, even though I'm not that much into tennis or anything. It's interesting to see how somebody can write a book that still has enough going on, even though you do read about a lot of the games that she plays. it's interesting enough to keep reading, even if you're not into tennis or anything. So there's a lot of like intrigue and other things happening on the side. You learn a lot about what she's dealing with, both in the past and now. You kind of switch back and forth a little bit. So yes, I did like this one. I think I already said I gave this 4 stars. Then I read Heartstopper Volume 2. Last month I read Volume 1, and as I already said, I'm very bad at not continuing series when I start them. I do kind of have the good thing where once I start, I will try and finish most of them relatively close to each other, but from the other hand, that means that I'm committing to a full series the moment I start book 1, and sometimes that's holding me back from starting in the first place. But these books read really quickly. This one I finished in an hour and a half probably. It's a graphic novel, so that's why, like, I know it's a big enough book, but a graphic novel of course reads really quickly. It's still very teenage angsty. This is the second book. 2 guys that realize they kind of like each other. That happens in the first book, and I'm not giving too many spoilers there, I think, because it's pretty much on the back of the book. And this continues from there. It's, yeah, I cannot fully relate because it's very like, okay, I'm afraid of all these teenagey things. But I do think when you are actually a teenager, these books are really nice and interesting to read and to see like how they deal with all the things that they're running into. So I did give this one 3 stars because it's just, I'm a bit too old for them, I think. But I do really appreciate what Alice Oseman is trying to do. I also read Volume 3, so I'm just putting that out there as well. I did read 1 book in between, but I might just as well talk about both of them right after each other. I've read all of them too close to each other to really know specifically what happened where, but you do go into some like typical and maybe less typical teenage problems that they're going through. I think it's really good that she voices the things that people can run into and kind of shows how you can deal with certain things. What is slightly unrealistic about this series to me is the amount of people that are either trans, gay, whatever. In this book, like, we've got, they just happen to have a friend that was trans. The teachers that are going on a trip with them happen to be gay. They're gay or bisexual themselves. Nothing against any of that, but it's just interesting to see that in a general high school, all of a sudden everybody related to this person is either gay, trans, or something else. That doesn't really seem fully representative of what the world is like, but I do understand that she wants to touch on so many different aspects of this specific topic that it's just easier to have a lot of characters that she can showcase that on. So I do appreciate what she's trying to do. It just isn't maybe fully realistic, but yeah. I did enjoy it enough to keep reading. It's not like a full DNF. I don't like them. 3 stars just because I'm 31. I'm not 16 anymore, and they definitely have 16-year-old guys problems with a little top on that like trying to come out and dealing with all of that when you're that age is definitely not easy either. So really appreciate the topic of the book, but I'm a bit too old for the teenage angst that these guys and girls are going through. Anyway, last book, and I think I'm going to go through this one a little bit quicker because this is a Dutch one, so I'm guessing that's not the most interesting one to most of you guys. This is a book by Lisette Jonkman, which is called Onbreekbaar. And the funny thing about this book, and I did not realize that before I started to read it, I've read another series, a 3-book series by her. This is also a 3-book series. And I never realized that this book is from the perspective of somebody else in the story of the other series that I already read. So it kind of has Taylor Jenkins Reid's vibes in that aspect. So it's interesting because I read those books a little while ago, but in that book, the main character of this book is becoming really good friends with the main character of that other book. So you do know like little bits of what is happening in her life, but you don't really know all the backstory and all the like more detailed things that are happening in her life. So it's interesting because something that surprised the main character in another book you can see the build up towards why she did something in this book. So this book is about Abby. Abby is a girl that dropped out of college, working in a bar, still living in a student home, trying to figure out what she wants with her life. And she runs into this guy that starts living next to her that is a couple of years younger than her, and well, the story unfolds from there. She's definitely a very independent girl. She's got some stuff that has happened to her in the past that is like making her who she is, for sure. And the book also has the undertitle, or it's kind of the name of the series as well, Buren with Benefits, which basically means neighbors with benefits. So it gives you a little bit of a hint of where they go in the end. But there's a lot of, again, like you see both sides, like you see her and the guy's side of like what they're thinking, what they're going through in different chapters. So sometimes it's annoying to know what both of them are thinking, and of course it's still a little bit teenage angsty, miscommunication, assumptions, and things that are happening because they assume the other person feels something or thinks something, which of course then isn't the case. But I don't know, because this is like university level, like a slightly older, I think he is 18, she's 21, bit more relatable than like the high school generation. Yeah, hear me talk. Yeah, but I did give this one 4 stars. I did really like reading it, and the fact that it kind of reminded me of when I read that other series when I was younger as well probably makes this more fun to read for me. So another series that I started, so I'm gonna have to buy the second book soon and start reading that one as well. But yeah, that is it. Those are the 5 books that I read. Have you read any of these? Let me know what you guys thought about them. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye.